It was the early 2000s. I was married, with 2 kids, 4 and 6 at the time. On the surface, life looked fine. I worked, provided, and trusted my wife. But small cracks started to show. Our kid began mentioning something odd. They were spending more and more time at their grandparents' place. At first, it didn't register as alarming. Grandparents love their grandkids, right? But my wife's parents lived 90 minutes away. That meant almost a 3-hour round trip. And she was supposedly doing this 2 or 3 times a week. On days she wasn't even working. That gnawed at me. Something didn't add up. And if you've ever had that cold weight in your stomach, the kind you can't shake, the sense that the person you love is lying, you'll know exactly what I felt. One evening, I asked her directly, calmly, casually. She denied everything. But my wife, she was never a good liar. The way her eyes shifted, the pause before she spoke, the too-perfect tone, it screamed dishonesty. My chest tightened, my mind raced, but I said nothing. Instead, I decided, I'll get proof. So I began tracking her car mileage, every trip, every odometer reading. And there it was, the evidence staring back at me. She was driving hundreds of extra miles a week. 400. Unexplained. My gut had been right. Something was happening behind my back. Then fate handed me the biggest break. One afternoon, I sat at our shared computer and noticed a sticky note left by the keyboard. Her AOL password. Just sitting there, almost begging me to look. My heart pounded as I typed it in. The screen lit up with her inbox. And there they were, emails between her and her college best friend. My hands shook as I scrolled. The words burned into my brain. She was bragging about sneaking around with her high school boyfriend, meeting him, sleeping with him, laughing about his wife, mocking her weight after pregnancy. That wasn't just cheating. That was cruelty. That was betrayal with a smile. I printed every single email, tucked them away, and sat in the dark, staring at the stack of papers. My marriage was a lie, but I wasn't going to be a victim. No. If she wanted to play dirty, I would show her what real consequences looked like. I reached out to a friend of mine who was a cop. He pointed me toward a former investigator turned private eye. Let's call him Ron. Ron was sharp. No nonsense. I handed him the emails, the mileage logs, everything I had. Within weeks, he delivered a report that confirmed my worst fears with brutal clarity. Photos, times, dates. She wasn't just visiting her parents. She was dropping off the kids, then sneaking into sleazy motels with this man. Over and over. My stomach turned, but alongside the anger, something else grew, determination. Ron dug deeper. The man, let's call him Bob, was married with 3 kids. On paper, he looked successful, VP of sales for his father-in-law's company, living in a nice home, seemingly stable. But Bob had one weakness. His entire life, his job, his house, his reputation, was tied directly to his wife's family. And once I learned that, the pieces of my revenge plan clicked into place. My decision was final. I'd seen what infidelity did to families. I grew up in one torn apart by it. I wasn't about to let my kids live through the same nightmare of screaming matches, distrust, and broken promises. So I hired a lawyer. Divorce papers were drawn, and together with Ron, I laid the groundwork for the endgame. The plan was simple but devastating. On the very same day my wife would be served divorce papers at work, Ron would hand-deliver Bob's dirty little secrets to his wife. 2 households, 2 cheaters, both exposed in one synchronized strike. When the day came, I imagined her face, shocked, pale, maybe trembling, when a server walked into her workplace and dropped the papers on her desk. And meanwhile, across town, Bob's wife was staring at photos of her husband tangled up with mine. Now, here's where it gets beautiful. My divorce went smoothly enough. Infidelity didn't carry much legal weight, but I kept my focus on protecting my kids and moving forward. But Bob? Oh, Bob's life unraveled in spectacular fashion. His wife cleaned out their joint bank account, took the kids, left, when her father, the same man who employed Bob and owned their house, found out. Bob was fired on the spot, evicted, and it didn't stop there. The divorce was brutal, public, nasty. Court documents show fights that turned physical. At one point, Bob picked the wrong fight with his wife's brother and walked away with a broken nose. Restraining orders followed. Criminal charges. Even jail time. Ron kept me updated for a while, but after a few years, Bob just vanished. Moved out of state. No trace online. A ghost of the man he thought he was. As for me, I kept my distance from my ex. We were civil enough for the kids, but once they grew up, our contact ended. I don't hate her. I don't wish her harm. But she is nothing to me now beyond the mother of my children. And Bob's ex-wife? She thrived. She took over her father's company, built a stable life, and from what I've heard, she and her kids are doing just fine. That's the difference between betrayal and resilience, between arrogance and justice. Bob thought he could sneak around, live a double life, and humiliate his wife while using mine. My ex thought she could lie, deny, and keep me in the dark. But in the end, they lost everything. Their comfort, their stability, their reputation. While I walked away with my head high, my dignity intact, and the knowledge that justice, true, crushing justice, had been served. Betrayal cuts deep, but sometimes karma just needs a little push. If you've ever been lied to, cheated on, or underestimated, remember this. People may think they can get away with it until the truth catches up. And when it does, it's devastating. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. And don't forget to subscribe, because I've got more stories of betrayal, justice, and ultimate payback coming your way.